Okay. I'm going to continue the lesson about jQuery. So jQuery is one of many available libraries that you can use to make functions for manipulating the web page, and you can help your JS code clean. Means you have the JavaScript, but the JavaScript might be long, or JavaScript might contain some only the JavaScript, but actually we can make it short. And sometimes, it can help to protect the security. So there are many libraries. Now there are a bunch of library and you need to select which library is good for you. The downside is that you have an extra dependency and need to learn a new library. So jQuery, I think it is a well-known library and many people use jQuery. It is a cross-platform JavaScript library designed to simplify the client-side scripting of HTML. So it is a kind of new programming style that uses selector engine. So this is the keyword. And it is to enable the data object model element selection. And then it is to traverse. So it can go to some kind of ID and etc. And it can do the manipulation. So some of the features of the jQuery, the DOM element selections. So this is the data object model using the multi-browser open source selector engine, or we call it SISL. So we will look at this one. And the DOM manipulation based on the CSS selectors that use element names and attributes. We will also look this one. Event. So in the jQuery, there will be some kind of events and also effects and animation. So you can design the animation with the jQuery. Ajax, this is the one that you already applied last week. We learned about the asynchronous JavaScript and XML. And then we can also use default and promise objects to control asynchronous processing. We can pass the JSON. It is extensible through plugins. So you can use any other plugins to do with the jQuery. And there will be some utilities like feature detection and some comparable methods that natively available in modern browsers. And jQuery can be used in any browsers. So for the jQuery, I think you learn in many of the CDN. Okay. So you use the code like jQuery and something blah 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 .js. But the other way, you can there are several ways to start with the jQuery on your website. So you can download the jQuery library. If you download the jQuery library, it means you can do it offline. So in the jQuery, they provide this jQuery download, so it is free. But you need to install in your computer, and you need to put this library in your Django project. So that's the downside. But I think it's better to use like this one. If you use the Google jQuery, you can just use the link to connect to the jQuery. So like this one, it is already provided, and you can just reuse it. So this is the code on the jQuery. So if you want to download the jQuery, so you need to have a copy of jQuery JS file and store in your hard drive. And then you need to do the reference of the JS file in your HTML file. So you know that when we do the scripting, we need to access the static file. So the static file, you can just use the src like this. And then you can access the jQuery function with this dollar object. Okay, so our main focus will be related with this dollar project. So if you want to use the jQuery with the related files, so you can just place the download file in the same directory as the pages where you wish to use it. But we are not using that one. So we are going to use the CDN. So if you do not want to download and you want to host the jQuery by yourself, so you can include it from CDN or Content Delivery Network. So we can use the existing jQuery or you can use from the Google. So usually from the Google, they can connect to the Google system as well. So you can use the script and then the source is like this one. And it depends on the version because the version can be updated. So this is the old version. So in the jQuery, before we code, we need to understand the concept of the code. We use the selector. This is the selector, or we call this is the dollar. The dollar sign is a kind of tailor-made for selecting the HTML element. So if we put dollar and div, it means I want to do something related with the division in the HTML. If I put dollar ID with the sharp, then I would like to make something in the relevant ID. So the basic syntax is using the dollar sign. This is a kind of selector. So we select some part of the HTML or we select something and then we do the action. So it's the same like when you do with the object-oriented programming, you will have like class and then what is the method? So it is the same. We have what is the selector and then what is the action. So the dollar sign is to define or access the jQuery. A selector is to query or find the HTML element. And the action, it is to perform on the element. So for example, I want to hide. So sometimes I want to hide the button. Then you can call the dollar, means the selector, and then you can set this, for example, the button, and then you want to hide it. Or let's say you want to hide the paragraph. So the dollar sign P hide. Then we're going to hide all the P elements. I'm going to do something with the dot test. Dot test means a kind of element that have dot test in the class name, and then I want to hide it. If I want to do with the ID equals to test, so I put the sharp and then hide. This is the action. So it means I will hide all the elements with the ID test. Okay. So different kind of access or selector, it has different meaning. So there are some kind of reference to handle the jQuery. You can refer to this reference. Now, let's go back to the Ajax that we have. Uh, So if you look at this one, this is the dollar sign. Okay, this dollar sign means I want to use the jQuery, and it is to access sharp result. What is sharp? It is the sharp is the ID. Okay. If you use dot, so it means you want to access any class. So it's different. If you want to call the element, then you can just call in between the double quotes. So in this case, I want to access the ID result, and this ID result is from the P result. Sorry, from the index. So that's why in the index you will see index.html. You will see one ID result, and we want to put the jQuery in this section. And then let's look at the other. So in this case, we are going to look at the result. But what is this? We have the dollar sign, and this dollar sign is in the Ajax. It means I will just connect to the Ajax. So this is the selector, because I know I will just use Ajax. So I will define what are the operation that I can do. So for example, this is the URL. URL means we have what is the link. In the Django, we define it in the urls.py. But in the JavaScript, we can specify this is the key URL, and then what is the link. And then you need to define what is the type. We know that there are two types of HTML. We have the post and get. And then asynchronous post. Okay, so we will look at the next. And then the token. So the token here, we are going to look at the data. In the data, we are going to use one token. In this case, we are going to use the CSRF middleware token. So if you still remember the CSRF, we use this one when we use the form. When we use the form, when we update the form, we use the CSRF. It is from the cross-site resource forms. Okay. So you can check on the Crud section what we did in the before the mid exam. And then if we have a success, it means if everything is correct, or if there is no error, then let's do a function, and function will give you a response. What is the response? The response will be in the result. How do we know that it is in the result? Because we declare the dollar sign. The dollar sign is again the jQuery. And then we have the ID result. So I want to put in the ID result, and I want to put it in the form of HTML. And this will be the response. It means the response will be shown in the .id result section. Okay. So this function is a read function. What is this read? The read we already declared. The read function, we have this one. We want to check all the objects from hosts, and then we put the data in the host. And then we have the link read. This is the link. The link read will run the function read. So whenever you open this link, it will run the function read, and the function read is to get all the data and then show the p underbar result. So that's the connection between the back end and then the front end via the JavaScript. So the Ajax setting the asynchronous to false means that the statement you are calling has to complete before the next statement in your function can be called. So if you set the async true, then the statement will begin its execution, and the next statement will be called regardless of whether the asynchronous statement has completed yet. So if this one you put false, means the sequence of this function will be done first, and then we can connect to another function. If this function does not work, then we cannot run another function. So usually we just put the false, but if you want to turn it into true, then it means you will have only one function. If you have several functions, it will be better to put it false. So you can understand if there are some errors. Which function contain the error? Now, we are going to learn how to create. So the first part we already read, which is R, but now let's deal how to create the function. In the fuse underbar crud.py, let's make another function which is create. Okay. It is a create function, and then in this create function, I would like to have two kind of content or two kind of variable. The first variable is the title, and the second variable is the content. Okay. And we can see here the post title and the post content. Okay. We will look at this in the one. So we have only two in the web, which is title and content. And whenever we put something here, we want to save the title and we want to save the content. But what about the other attribute. So if we have a post, the new post will start the like and dislike as 0. Okay? We don't care how many like and how many dislike, because if we have a new post, then every number will be starting with 0. And then the other attribute that we have is created at, and then we have updated at. It is related with the type, so we don't need to show it. It is only the information in the database. So two relevant attributes for the users to change is only the title and content. So if we look at this create, this is the function, and we are going to get only the title and the content. And then later, after we have the data, let's save it, and then let's deal with the index.html. Now let's add one more link in the urls.crud. Okay, we have one more link which is create. Now we want to add the JavaScript. So I don't handle the script in the backend, but instead I'm trying to use the JavaScript. So you can copy this one and then go to the script Crud. If you look at my comment, okay, there is a clear. Okay, so you can copy and paste in this place. Okay, now let's look at how the Ajax work. So let's say I'm going to put a fifth post and content trial fifth post, and then let me create. Oops. Ooh. Mhm. Is it working in your computer? No. Mm. Is it changing? Let me check. Okay, it doesn't change, so I think there will be no issue with this Google API. Let me restart. Let's have 5 posts. Trial 5 posts. Please use that browser. Okay. So I will explain a little bit about the code. So in this code, I'm going to connect to the ID create. Okay. So this shop is ID. So you can see there is a button and the ID is create. And if I click this one, then here there is an event. We call this is an action. And the action is click. So actually there are many other kind of event. For example, if your mouse is hover, so if you move your mouse, then you can do something. Okay. But now let's just use one function. This is click. So if I click the create, then let's have this one. So this is the way to define the variable. So I put the dollar title, dollar content. It is to make it easy to distinguish between variable and the other kind of syntax in this Ajax. So I want to get the value. I want to get the value of the ID title. And I want to get the value of the ID content. If you look at the code, we have the ID title and we have the ID content. So I want to put it into the variable title and the variable content. So I'm using the dollar sign because I want to access the HTML. And then I need to check if the title is empty or if the content is empty, then please complete the required bit. If all those title and contents, there are some contents on it, then let's do this one. So first, for the Ajax, we need to declare what is the URL, and then the type, which is the post, and what I'm going to put into the server is the title into the key title, and then the contents into the key content, and then I'm going to use this token. So this token has been declared in the Django. So this is the way to communicate from the Ajax into the server. And then I want to put the value into the server. So if it is success, then I would like to read. Read means the function that we can read data. So the read is the function that we have this one. Okay, this is the function read. So we are going to read again the data. So after we save the data, then there will be a new data. So after we read the data, and then let's put the title as empty. And then let's put the content as empty. Okay. Then finish. So if you look at this result, read, and there will be more data on the database. Yeah, I don't know why it doesn't work. Okay, I will check this one. Okay. Okay, then I guess due to time, I think I need to finish this one. Okay, let's continue the remaining parts on Thursday.